You're paying $40 for trendy bottled wellness drinks, while the real, time-tested remedies have been sitting in the Bible and the pantry for thousands of years. Today, we count down 10 biblical and traditional drinks that people have long turned to for relief and restoration, recipes you can make at home, the historical hooks in scripture and tradition, and what modern science says about why they may help. The title promises miraculous and instant, but right up front, those words are used in the spirit of historical reports and fast symptom relief some people experience. They are not promises of guaranteed medical cures. If you're dealing with a serious condition, please consult a professional. If you love uncovering biblical health wisdom, hit subscribe and let's dive in. Scripture is full of plants, oils, resins, and simple food regimens that sustained bodies and communities. Sometimes the references are devotional or symbolic. Sometimes they're practical mentions of everyday food. Over the last decade, researchers have revisited many of these ingredients and found plausible biochemical reasons. They might ease inflammation, fight microbes, support digestion, or replenish energy, though the strength of evidence ranges from laboratory studies to small human trials. Our aim is practical. For each item, I'll give a brief biblical or historical note, a clear recipe, measurements, temperatures, time, a short science note describing likely mechanisms and the quality of evidence, and sensible application and safety guidance. 10. Cumin Digestive Tonic. Jesus himself mentions cumin when he calls out misplaced priorities in Matthew 23. He uses the image of spices that were part of daily life. In the same culinary world, cumin has been used as a digestive aid for millennia. Recipe: lightly toast 1 teaspoon whole cumin seeds in a dry pan until aromatic, 30-45 seconds. Crush gently and steep in 2 cups just boiled water for 10 minutes. Strain and drink warm. For taste, add a squeeze of lemon or a half teaspoon of raw honey if desired. Science note: cumin contains volatile oils, including compounds related to carvacrol and thymol, that relax intestinal muscle and can reduce gas and bloating. Several small human studies have found that cumin extracts can improve digestion and even modestly support blood sugar control after meals. Much of the evidence is clinical, but not yet large-scale. Laboratory studies explain the mechanisms, and short human trials show promise. When to use and cautions: sip this after a heavy meal or when you feel bloated. Avoid if you have a known allergy to cumin or other Apiaceae family plants, and be cautious if you take antiplatelet medications. Talk to your clinician. Pregnant women should check with a provider before regular use of concentrated spice infusions. 9. The Fig and Raisin Reviver, a story from 1 Samuel. There's a striking practical scene in 1 Samuel 30 where a man left behind was revived after being given a piece of fig cake and raisins. The text doesn't medicalize the event. It records an observable recovery after nourishing food. That simple image is the inspiration for this reviver drink: fast energy plus minerals and antioxidants. Recipe: soak 3 pitted dried figs and 6 to 8 large seedless raisins in 1 cup hot, not boiling water, for 10-15 minutes. Blend the softened fruit with the soaking water until smooth. Strain if you prefer a lighter texture, and drink lukewarm. For a salty balance after exertion, add a pinch of sea salt. Science note: dried figs and raisins are dense sources of simple sugars, potassium and quick-absorbing carbohydrates. Exactly what the body needs for acute energy and to help restore electrolyte balance after heavy labor or faintness. They also provide polyphenols and prebiotic fibers. Most evidence here is nutritional rather than clinical trials for a specific revival effect, but the principle, fast glucose plus minerals, explains why people in many cultures have used sweet-dried fruits for immediate recovery. When to use and cautions: useful after intense physical exertion or when you feel lightheaded and suspect calorie or electrolyte depletion. not a substitute for medical attention in cases of severe dehydration or syncope. People with diabetes should account for the quick sugars and monitor blood glucose. 8. Olive leaf tea, the bitter green of resilience. The olive is woven into Israel's landscape and scripture. Prophets and poets use the olive as a symbol of endurance and blessing. Ezekiel offers images of trees and productivity. Beyond symbolism, olive leaf is a distinct botanical component with its own history of use. Recipe: use 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried olive leaf per cup of water. Pour 8 ounces of boiling water over the leaves and steep for 8 to 12 minutes. Strain and drink warm or cool. For flavor, add a drop of raw honey or a squeeze of lemon. Science note: olive leaf contains oleuropein and related phenolics with antioxidant, modest antiviral and antimicrobial activity in laboratory studies. Some small human studies and controlled trials have shown that olive leaf extracts can support immune function and help modestly reduce blood pressure or improve metabolic markers, but effects depend heavily on extract concentration and preparation. Many findings are promising, yet larger trials are needed for definitive clinical claims. When to use and cautions: consider this as an immune-supporting daily tea during cold seasons. If you take medication for blood pressure or are on anticoagulants, consult your doctor. Olive leaf can influence these pathways. Pregnant or breastfeeding women should check with a provider. 7. Frankincense, boswellia, resin infusion, the Magi's resin with modern promise. Frankincense is one of the gifts of the Magi. Boswellia resin has danced between ritual and medicine for thousands of years. People have chewed or steeped it to soothe mouths and reduce inflammation. Recipe: use food-grade boswellia resin or a high-quality powdered extract. For a simple infusion, take a small pinch, about 1 to 8 teaspoons, of finely crushed resin, place in 1 cup hot water, and let steep 10-15 minutes. Strain through a fine cloth. Because resin can be tough to dissolve, many prefer a standardized extract in capsule form. Follow manufacturer dosing when using extracts. Science note: boswellic acids target inflammatory pathways such as 5-lipoxygenase and have shown anti-inflammatory effects in laboratory studies and multiple human trials, particularly for joint inflammation and osteoarthritis. Evidence of systemic benefits is stronger with standardized extracts and proper dosing than with weak home infusions. The clinical literature supports real anti-inflammatory activity, though results vary by preparation. When to use and cautions: try boswellia when you need an anti-inflammatory support, joint flare-ups, persistent musculoskeletal soreness. Use quality, food-grade sources and be mindful that interactions, impurities and dosing matter. Standardized extracts are often more reliable than arbitrary amounts of resin. Avoid if pregnant. Consult your clinician if you're on multiple medications. 6. Oxymel, honey and vinegar, soothing tonic. Oxymel, a traditional combination of honey and vinegar, shows up across ancient Mediterranean and Near Eastern cultures. It's simple, shelf-stable in the right proportions, and historically used for cough, digestion, and general tonic purposes. Recipe: stir together 1 part raw honey and 1 part apple cider vinegar, for example 1 tablespoon honey, plus 1 tablespoon apple cider vinegar into a cup of warm water. Adjust to taste. Take 1/4 to 1/2 cup as a sip or use as a throat gargle for irritation. Science note: raw honey has documented antimicrobial and wound-healing properties in laboratory and clinical settings. Certain honeys, like Manuka, have more studied activity. Vinegar's acetic acid can modestly aid digestion and control post-meal glycemia in some studies. The combination may soothe throat irritation and support oral microbial balance. Evidence for systemic effects is mixed and depends on honey quality. When to use and cautions: a gentle throat soother, an after-meal digestive sip or a quick pick-me-up. Avoid giving raw honey to infants under 1 year. If you have diabetes, count the sugar contribution. Use caution with acidity-sensitive stomach conditions and consult if you take certain medications. 5. Grape and pomegranate antioxidant. Blend a longevity-themed cup. Wine and grapes appear throughout Scripture as symbols and staples. Pomegranates are also richly symbolic and were prized for their color and flavor. Both fruits are dense in polyphenols that attract modern interest for cardiovascular and anti-aging research. Recipe: combine 3-4 cup 100% cold-pressed grape juice with 1 to 4 cup pomegranate juice. Warm gently for a mulled version, do not boil, and add a cinnamon stick if you like, or drink chilled as a bright antioxidant shot. Science note: grapes and pomegranates contain resveratrol, anthocyanins, and other polyphenols. Laboratory studies highlight antioxidant and anti-inflammatory pathways, and small human trials suggest modest benefits for blood pressure, endothelial function, and markers of oxidative stress. Resveratrol itself shows biological activity in animals and small human studies, but translating doses used in animal studies to realistic food intakes is complex. The evidence supports potential supportive benefits rather than miraculous reversal of disease. When to use and cautions: good as a daily antioxidant boost or a festive restorative after hard work. If you consume alcohol, remember wine has effects that differ from non-alcoholic juice. People on blood-thinning medications should check interactions with polyphenol-rich supplements. 4. Ginger, lemon, and raw honey. Anti-inflammatory brew. Ginger is ancient medicine from across the Mediterranean to India. While not always named in biblical text, it's consistent with the region's pharmacopoeia. Combined with vitamin C-rich lemon and antimicrobial raw honey, this is a go-to for inflammation, nausea, and throat comfort. Recipe: slice 1 to 1.5 inches of fresh ginger root and simmer gently in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes. Do not boil aggressively. Remove from heat, add juice of half a lemon and 1 teaspoon raw honey. Sip warm. Science note: ginger contains gingerols and shogaols that have validated anti-nausea effects in human trials and anti-inflammatory effects in both lab and clinical studies. Trials show benefit for motion sickness, post-operative nausea, and some inflammatory markers. Lemon provides vitamin C and acidity that brightens flavor. Honey adds some antimicrobial qualities. When to use and cautions: take for nausea, sore throat, cold-related congestion, or after a spicy or heavy meal. Avoid if you are on anticoagulant therapy without medical advice, and use caution if you have gallbladder disease. Pregnant women can use small amounts for nausea, but should check dosing guidance. 3. Date and almond milk, sustaining elixir. Dates are a staple of ancient Near Eastern diets and appear throughout Scripture as food of high value. Combined with ground or whole almonds, they provide a balanced little meal. Fast sugars plus healthy fats and minerals. Recipe: blend 4 pitted medjool dates with 1 cup unsweetened almond milk, homemade or store-bought, a pinch of cinnamon, and a tablespoon of soaked chia or flax for extra fiber. Blend until smooth. If you need a thinner texture, add a splash more almond milk. Science note: dates are rich in natural sugars for quick energy, potassium to help rehydrate cells, and fiber for gut support. Almonds supply monounsaturated fat, vitamin E, and protein, which lengthen the energy curve. While this is a nutritional drink rather than a study-backed cure, it's ideal for sustained energy and recovery after long work, similar to the nourishing snacks mentioned in ancient texts. When to use and cautions: perfect for a morning boost, a pre-work snack, or quick recovery nourishment. Avoid if you have nut allergies, and measure portions if you're tracking carbohydrates for diabetes management. 2. Myrrh mouth rinse and tonic, antiseptic from antiquity. Myrrh, often paired with frankincense in biblical gifts and rituals, was also chewed and used topically for oral health and mild antiseptic purposes. Historically, it has been applied in diluted form as a mouthwash and throat rinse. Recipe: mouth rinse. If using powdered myrrh resin, dissolve a very small pinch, less than 1/8 teaspoon, in 8 ounces of warm water. Steep for 5 to 10 minutes and strain. Use as a warm mouth rinse or gargle and then spit out. For an ingestible tonic, use a standardized myrrh tincture at recommended doses on its label. Do not ingest raw resin without guidance. Science note: myrrh contains sesquiterpenes and other compounds with demonstrated antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory actions in laboratory studies. It's been used in small clinical contexts for oral ulcers and gingivitis. Evidence supports topical oral use more strongly than systemic claims. When to use and cautions: useful as an occasional antiseptic mouth rinse for sore gums or minor oral irritation. Do not swallow a straight concentrated mouthwash or ingest raw resin. Avoid prolonged ingestion. Pregnant women and people on multiple medications should consult a clinician. Quality and standardization are key. 1. Hyssop, the capstone of cleansing, Psalm 51 and tradition. We arrive at number 1, hyssop. This herb carries deep symbolic weight in Scripture. The psalmist pleads, "Purge me with hyssop and I shall be clean," Psalm 51:7. A short line that speaks to purification and renewal. Hyssop was part of sacrificial and cleansing imagery. Beyond symbolism, traditional use includes inhalations, rinses, and infusions. Modern phytochemistry shows that hyssop contains volatile oils with antimicrobial and expectorant properties, particularly when prepared with care. Recipe: gentle hyssop infusion. Use dried hyssop leaves, food grade, because the fresh plant can be more variable. Add 1 teaspoon dried hyssop to 8 ounces of hot water just off the boil and steep for 5 to 8 minutes. Strain and sip warm. For respiratory support, an inhalation can be made by steeping 1 tablespoon of dried hyssop in a bowl and breathing the steam from a safe distance. Always test tolerance first. For stronger preparations, consult a qualified herbalist or practitioner. Science note: hyssop contains phenolic compounds and essential oils, including pinocamphone in some species, that display antimicrobial and expectorant activity in lab studies. Some species contain compounds that can be neuroactive in high doses, which is why dosing and quality are crucial. Research shows promise for symptomatic relief of mild respiratory congestion and for surface antimicrobial effects, but high-quality human clinical trials are limited and dosing ranges in studies vary. When to use and cautions: treat hyssop as a powerful herb that can offer noticeable relief for mild respiratory congestion or as a gentle antimicrobial tea. Because certain hyssop species can be neurotoxic at high doses, never exceed recommended amounts. Avoid long-term high-concentration use and do not give hyssop tea to pregnant or breastfeeding women unless under professional guidance. Cold steeping and using small doses preserves delicate compounds and reduces risk. A few practical interludes: quality, timing, and reality checks. Quality matters more than clever recipes. Raw, unpasteurized honey carries live enzymes and stronger antimicrobial signatures than overly processed honey, but raw honey must never be given to infants. Food-grade resins and standardized extracts outperform unknown powders from unclear sources. Cold steeping delicate herbs preserves volatile oils. Strong boiling can destroy fragile compounds. If you are buying extracts, prioritize suppliers who provide certificates of analysis. These drinks are not magic bullets. When the title promises instant relief, the honest frame is this: some recipes produce quick symptomatic relief. Warming liquids ease congestion, fast sugars revive faintness, honey coats a sore throat, but instant does not mean guaranteed universal cure. Many of these practices are best understood as supportive measures, food as medicine, rooted in observation and tradition, and increasingly explored by modern science. Some findings are robust, others preliminary. Safety notes, short and clear. This is not medical advice. Consult a healthcare professional for serious or persistent conditions. Raw honey is unsafe for infants under 1 year. If you are pregnant, breastfeeding, taking blood thinners, blood pressure medications, or immunosuppressants, check interactions before trying concentrated herbal preparations. Allergies to nuts, spices, or botanical families mean you should be cautious with recipes that include those ingredients. If a product causes an adverse reaction, stop and seek medical advice. Why these drinks endure? Across cultures, Hebrew, Egyptian, Persian, Greek, Indian, people discovered what calmed fevers, eased digestion, opened airways, or restored strength. Scripture preserves both the sacred and the practical, a prophet's image, a farmer's table, a traveler's ration. When we look at the chemistry beneath the stories, we find patterns: simple sugars for fast energy, phenolic compounds for antioxidant and antimicrobial action, volatile oils that loosen mucus and soothe nausea. That convergence of observation and mechanism is why these drinks keep coming back into fashion. A closing invitation. Try one of these recipes this week with quality ingredients and keep a small notebook of what you notice: energy, digestion, sleep, breathing. Share which one you tried in the comments and what changed. Your experience may help others refine their approach. If you'd like a deeper episode on how to source trustworthy herbs and standardized extracts, say so in the comments and we'll explore that next. Final reminder and blessing. These recipes draw on centuries of observed practice and on passages that shaped a people's daily life. Matthew's passing mention of cumin, the fig and raisins episode recorded in 1 Samuel, the olive's recurring presence in prophetic imagery, the gifts of frankincense and myrrh. They are tools for care, not replacements for clinical care. May these simple cups remind you that sacred texts and humble ingredients can meet the body's needs in small, practical ways. This is not medical advice. If you have a serious health concern, seek professional care. If you try one of these, tell us which one below, and subscribe for more dives into biblical wisdom and modern science. One practical cup at a time.